Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me. Michael DDA here. We're going to talk about the daughters of Zelophehad today. I think you're going to find it very, very interesting. We have gone through life. For us, I was born in 1954. Life has changed a lot in the last 100 years. Regarding the role of a woman, I think in particular with women's liberation and so much of the role of a woman in the world. We've lost the idea of families. And I think we're going to get back to that. And I think that this particular class might help us to understand a little bit more the role of a man and the role of a woman in Yehovah's kingdom. They're not the same. A man has duties and responsibilities before the Father, and a woman has duties and responsibilities, dare I say, before her man. Most rebel at that idea. But Yehovah doesn't tell women what to do. He tells men what to do. The instructions are given to the man, and the man is always going to instruct his woman. She's bone of his bone, flesh of his flesh. What does that mean? Does my arm do things that I don't want it to do? Does my mouth say things I don't want it to say? See, there's things that we have to understand that have been forgotten in the world. Last week, Yehovah commanded Moses and Eleazar, right after Eleazar took the place of the high priest after Aaron had died. They made a numbering again of all the men in Israel, 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. At the end of that, we saw briefly in 54, let me just go down here. Here it is. It says, to the large tribe, I guess we'll start at 53. To these the land shall be divided. Who's these? Israel's seed, the 600 and 1,730. To these men, the land shall be divided as an inheritance according to the number of the names. Who is named? All the men are named. To the large tribe you shall give a larger inheritance, and to the small tribe you shall give a smaller inheritance. Each shall be given an inheritance according to those who were numbered among them. But the land shall be divided by lot. So then they go talk about that. At any rate, we're talking about men. The land is going to be given to the men. Inherited by the sons for the most part. And that is what brings us to chapter 27, verse 1. It says, then, I'm going to read it on the right here. Then the daughters of Zelophehad. Zelophehad is actually how you say that name. Ben Kefer, Ben Gilead, Ben Makar, Ben Manasseh. From the clans of Manasseh, Joseph's son. And these are the names of the daughters. Here they are. Makla, Noah, Gagala, Milcah, and Tirzah. They got something they need to say. Let me just read this on my note here. It says, in the orders of the division of the lands just given, I just read it to you last chapter we went through, no provision was made for females. In case of a failure of male issue, the 5 daughters of Zelophehad therefore considered themselves to be destitute, having neither father nor brother, or being themselves entirely overlooked. And they agreed to refer the case to Moses and the rulers, whether or not it was equitable that they should inherit their father's portion. Things to consider. Only Israel's seed owns land. Now, here's something that most people, many women, would rebel against. A woman is a possession of her man. Did you hear that? Let me show you something. Did I put it on here? No, I didn't. I want to go to the last commandment. Exodus 20. The commandment was number 10. Look what it says. Here it is on 2017. I want to show it to you. Oh, you know what? I'll bet you that's what we'll just go through it. On the right, it says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Remember, thou. Who's thou we're talking about? Thou was Israel's seed, the Ezra men. They are the ones who were told 3 days before, don't go near a woman. They translate it, don't go near your wife. But it doesn't say wife, it says don't go near a woman. Why? Because she's unclean, she'll make you unclean, and you can't go up to the Father. So when they say thou, we're talking about Ezra men. Not talking about any ladies. There are no ladies there. There are no ger. There's no little girls there at the mountain. Just Ezra men. Yehovah's, Israel's seed. Yehovah's sons. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, a possession. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's appendage. Woman, it says Isha. I put appendage. A woman is bone of your bone, flesh of your flesh. She's you. Nor his male servant, another possession. His female servant, another possession. Nor his ox, or his donkey, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. The woman is thy neighbor's possession, just as your woman is your possession. Call me a chauvinist. I don't care. I'm going to show you what Yehovah has to say. And this is important to the context that we're going to go through today. What if these women, well, let's just get into it, and then we'll talk about that as we move along. Let me go back. 26, 27. Yeah, I did have the same verse right here. House appendage. Yeah. So, land inheritance always goes to the seed, usually the firstborn son. Not all the sons, the firstborn son. And the other thing that we need to consider is every woman needs a covering. These women right now are orphans. They're orphan women. They might be orphaned adult women. Of course, we don't know the age of these women, do we? We assume that they're adults. What's an adult? Where's adult in the scriptures? I said many pervert their ideas using this portion and ignore the portion that also pertains to these ladies in Numbers 36. We're going to go through Numbers 36 as well today. I think it's important that we do. I want you to be able to see this. Verse 2, here's the issue that they're bringing. They, Zelophehad's daughters, stood before Moses, before Eleazar the priest, before the leaders of all the congregation, of all the assembly, by the door of the tabernacle of meeting. They can't go in the door. They have to be outside the court. The doorway of the tabernacle of meetings. Our father died in the wilderness, it says. But he was not in the company of those who gathered together against Yehovah, in the company of Korah. But he died in his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should our name, listen, that verse we just read, what are they saying? He's not an evil man. He wasn't rebelling. He was just like all the rest of the sons and died in his own sin. Every man dies for his own sin. Why should the name of our father be removed from among his family? Because he had no son. No land. The name gets removed. What are we going to do? Then it says, give us a possession among our father's brothers. Are they concerned about their father's name or his potential possession? You know, they said, I put the most he would have is one portion, and there are 5 ladies. Think about that. If there were 5 brothers, only the oldest son's going to get a portion, right? Well, the same way with these ladies, it would only be Makla who's going to get the possession. Not all 5 daughters. I see that the real problem that we're talking about here is that these ladies need a covering. These orphans need a covering. They are often orphan daughters of Israel, and they need a covering. If they were young, let's say their father died when let's say these women are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it's fine. They're not going to marry anybody, but they need to be taken in and cared for. And Yehovah commands us to take care of widows and orphans. See, that's the real problem here. Now we're adding this situation about the land, but the land is only going to be for one daughter. It's not for all the daughters. It's for Makla. But we still got to deal with all 5 of these ladies who need a covering. Verse 4 says, why should I read that. So Moses, verse 5, so Moses brought their case before Yehovah. And Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, I'm going to just say Zelophehad. The daughters of Zelophehad speak what is right. You shall surely give them a possession of an inheritance among their father's brothers, and cause the inheritance of their father to pass to them. What? This makes no sense. Do women own land? No. there's going to be an issue here that's going to come up, that's going to bring it to pass. You know, when I first read this, knowing the role of a man and the role of a woman in Yehovah's kingdom, I knew there was a problem. And we're going to see how that problem is resolved today. It says, and you shall speak to Israel's seed. This is Yehovah still talking, saying, if a man dies and has no son, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass to, what does it say? His daughter. Not his daughters, his daughter, just as it would pass to his son, regardless of how many sons he has. If he has no daughter, then you shall give his inheritance to his brothers. If he has no brothers, you shall give his inheritance to his father's brothers. This is assuming his father's not around anymore, I guess. And if his father has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to the relative closest to his family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be, look what it says, it shall be a statute of judgment. It shall be a permanent decree. That's what Yehovah is saying. This is going to be a permanent decree. Now, this says nothing about the wife. In our society, it goes to the woman, the wife. It goes to the man's woman. I don't even like to use that word, wife. It confuses us. And you're going to see why when we get further on to chapter 36. This is Bible in Basic English, not really a translation, but I think it's interesting. And if his father has no brothers, then give it to his nearest relation in the family as his heritage. This is a decision by law for Israel's seed, the permanent decree. I have a problem with this. This is my problem. Women cannot own land. Women are owned. That's what I just showed you in the 10th commandment. Women are a possession of their man. In the year of Jubilee. No, in the 7th year. If a man has 2 servants that came to him that year, maybe forget, whatever, the man gets to go out, but the woman stays. She stays under her covering. She's treated differently. I put, what happens to the land when she passes? Not to mention that every woman needs a covering. But let's say it goes to the woman. Great. So where does it go after the woman dies? Do you see the problem? We're going to see that whatever the woman has becomes a possession of her man. I don't like to use wife. I'm not going to use husband at all. They're both legal terms. Wife, husband, spouse. They're not words that Yehovah uses. They're words that the government uses, and it's legalese. We've been tricked by it. So many tricks. We're going to read chapters 36 to get the rest of the story today. But before we go there, we have to talk about Moses. Here it is. It's just starting with Moses right now. Now Yehovah said to Moses, go up into the Avarim mountains. It says Mount Avarim. There is no Mount Avarim. There, Avarim is a range of mountains. Here it is right here. This is the Avarim mountain range, right in through here. And it's got Mount Peor, Mount Pisgah, Mount Nebo, Bamat, Baal, Kiryataim, and there was one other one, Beth Baal Meon. The house of Lord Meon, just like it's the house of Baal Peor, Lord Peor. Baal is Lord, Master. Like we taught with Jesus, our Master. Yeah, another false god. Israel is right now dwelling in this area right here, right across from Jericho. So here we are in this big valley. Moses is going to go up here, probably to Mount Pisgah in the Avarim mountain range, to see what he's going to see. Here we are. Now Yehovah said to Moses, go up to this Avarim mountain and see the land which I have given to Israel's seed. And when you have seen it, you shall be gathered to your people, as Aaron, your brother, was gathered. Avarim, there it is right there. This is Easton, I believe. Region beyond is what Avarim means. On the east side of the Jordan, a mountain, or rather a mountain chain, over against Jericho to the east and the southeast of the Dead Sea. In the land of Moab, was the land of Moab. It became our land when we took it. From the top of Pisgah, Mount Nebo, one of the summits. This is where Moses is going to be. I have several verses here. They've been to the Avarim Mountains before. It's one of the places where they had camped in front of. Go to the top of Pisgah. That probably is, lift up your eyes towards the north, the south, the east. Well, maybe this is describing Moses' death. Behold it with your eyes, for you shall not cross over. Yeah, it's Moses. Here's another one. Go up to the mountains of Avarim. The mountain of Avarim, Mount Nebo. There it is in particular. It's going to the Avarim Mountains, Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, across from Jericho. View the land of Canaan, which I shall give to Israel's seed as a possession. So Moses went up. This is again Numbers 34. So Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo. I thought I was Pisgah, but it looks like it's Mount Nebo to maybe they're both, to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah. Sounds like Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah. Is the top of Pisgah Mount Nebo? Maybe, which is across from Jericho. At any rate, kind of gives us an idea of what we're talking about. And when you have seen it, you shall be gathered to your people, just as Aaron was gathered. Just your brother was gathered. That's what happened in 2024. For in the wilderness of Zin, see, remember, Moses is going to die. He doesn't get to go into the promised land. Why? Because he sinned before Yehovah. This is it right here. And when you have seen it, you shall be gathered to your people as Aaron your brother is gathered. For in the wilderness of Zin, before the strife of the assembly, you rebelled against my command to hallow me at the waters before their eyes. These are the waters of Meribah at Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin. This is at the end of our time in the wilderness. We've been in the wilderness for 38 to 40 years. It seems like 38, but maybe they count the years before when we were at Mount Sinai, maybe counted into some of that as well. This is where they sinned. It was right after Miriam died. They were at Where are they at? The rock of, they just said it. Meribah. Yehovah is telling Moses and us why he must die. This is the place where it happened. He was supposed to speak to the rock. It said, speak to the rock. Why did Yehovah treat that incident? Gosh, he spoke to the rock, or he hit the rock, and he's hit the rock twice. Instead of speaking to the rock, he probably hit it the first time, thinking it was going to do it like it did the last time at Mount Horeb. He only had to hit it once. But Yehovah said to speak to it, so he hit it. Hit it again, didn't work. Now he's in trouble. He was supposed to speak to the rock. Why? And is there a reason why Yehovah is making I think, a big issue out of this disobedience? Could this be the reason why? Look at what it says. I think Yehovah is setting up a shadow picture for future events. This is why I told him to speak to the rock and not hit the rock. Here's what I pulled. This is from Isaiah 11:4-5. But with righteousness he shall judge the poor and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. This is Israel's seed, probably what I used to call the 144,000, but they're select servants of Yehovah that are going to lead the people. Israel's seed, shall strike the earth with what? The rod of his mouth. And with the breath of his lips, he shall slay the wicked. Could this be what Yehovah was trying to set up as a shadow picture that didn't work quite the way he wanted it to? But maybe Moses' disobedience called further attention to what he's trying to set up for the future. I wonder. I put this incident with the rock happened just before Miriam died. No, just after Miriam died. And at the end of our time in the wilderness, I said their time. It's our time. I'm Israel. I've told you many times why I'm Israel. I'm an Israel man. Then Moses spoke to Yehovah, saying, so Yehovah just told Moses he's going to die, and why? What is the first thing that Moses is going to say? I think this is a lot about Moses. He says this. I'm going to read it on the right. It's kind of perverted on this. I'll read it on the left, and then I'll read it on the right. Let Yehovah, the Elohim of spirits, of all flesh, set a man, an ish, over the assembly. So he's worried about what? He's worried about the assembly. He's not worried about himself. Here's what I believe it actually says. Let Yehovah, the spirit Elohim of all flesh, appoint a man over the assembly. Spirit Elohim. Here's another way of saying the same thing. Let Yehovah, the spirit, lawmaker, and judge of all flesh, appoint a man over the assembly. Remember, Yehovah's spirit. He's spirit Elohim, the spirit, lawmaker, and judge. Ecclesiastes says this. Then the dust, I put the dust of a man who is created, the dust the man was created from will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to Elohim who gave it. Yehovah makes all flesh and puts spirit into them. When the spirit dies, the flesh returns. He then says, Remember, he says, let Yehovah, let me read it up here, let Yehovah, Spirit Elohi, of all flesh, or thus, it says the Spirit, not Ruach, Spirit. It says the Spirit, let the Spirit Elohi, of all flesh, appoint a man, an Ish, not an Adam, over the assembly, over the assembly. They translate it always as congregation here in the New King James Version. Who may go out before them and go in before them, who may lead them out and bring them in, that the assembly of Yehovah may not be like sheep without a shepherd. Look at that. Moses' only prayer is not to leave the people, Israel's seed, shepherdless. His main concern is not that he's going to die. He knew it was coming. He had to know it was coming. It happened for Aaron just a month or two before. Now it's happening with him. Yehovah is even now looking for men who will be set apart examples for those who want to become part of his people. Men who will come out of Babylon and join Yehovah's kingdom fully. These called out men, that's what the church is. They're the ecclesia, called out. What are they called out of? They're called out of Babylon. These called out men will be his faithful shepherds. Remember first commandment, I am Yehovah who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim before my face. No other Elohim before my face. No other lawmakers or judges before my face. $18. Oh, did I make this big? Yeah, I guess I did. And Yehovah said to Moses, take Joshua. So now here is Yehovah's response to what Moses just said. Take Joshua, Ben Nun, with you, a man in whom the Spirit, and the man in whom is Spirit. The man in whom is Spirit is really what it says. They put the man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hands on him. No, it doesn't say the Spirit. It says the man in whom is Spirit. Set him before Eleazar, the priest, before the assembly, and inaugurate him in their sight. Inaugurate. Appoint. Charge. And he charged him is the verse that we're going to talk about, and charge him in their sight. I put Joshua is going to be the new commander-in-chief. They put it in terms that many of us might understand. This particular work about charging has this word, or has this letter, if I can get to it, right here, is the Zavik. And it means a man on his side, or a man bowing low. This is a man who's going to serve the people. Zion, Yehovah's son, uses that same letter. Righteousness uses that same letter. Well, I guess I've got lots of those that use that. Verse 20. All right, I want to get through this. I want to get back to the daughters. And you shall give your grandeur, your authority, to him, that all Israel's seed may be obedient. The grandeur is the word hod. Splendor is what ancient Hebrew lexicon of the Bible says. Word study says vigor, authority, majesty. Yeah, he's got something that stands out among all the people. He shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire before Yehovah for him by the judgment of the Urim. Remember, the Urim and the Tumim are the things that the priest has in his vest. Probably two rocks, a black rock and a white rock, that are very similar in shape and size. It's for lots. It's for getting answers, kind of a yes-no answer from Yehovah, that he may stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire before Yehovah for him by the judgment of the Urim, and his words, at his word that they shall go out, and at his word they shall go in, he and all Israel's seed with him, all the assembly. Israel's seed, all Israel's seed, and all the assembly are the same thing. He's just saying it a different way. So Moses did as Yehovah commanded him. He took Joshua and set him before Eleazar the priest and before all the assembly. And he laid his hands on him and inaugurated him. Why is that up? Inaugurated him. Let's see if we can do it this way. Inaugurated him just as Yehovah commanded by the hand of Moses. So now let's go to Numbers 36. And here we are. There's a problem that's coming up. And, it's happening in Manasseh because of this issue with Zelophehad's daughters. Now the chief fathers of the families of Gilead's seed, son of Machir, son of Manasseh. Here we are, Gilead's seed, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, of Joseph's seed, of the families of Joseph's seed, came near and spoke before Moses and before the leaders, the chief fathers of Israel's seed. Who are the leaders? The leaders are the chief fathers of Israel's seed. They had men for each tribe. He's talking to all of them along with it says just as the chief fathers of Gilead's seed spoke. Moses spoke, came near and spoke before Moses and before the leaders. Well, how does that work? Moses, how come it doesn't say Joshua? We just saw that Moses died. Maybe it hasn't happened yet. That doesn't even make sense, does it? Spoke before Moses and before the leaders. I would say this is Joshua and before the leaders. See, there's issues. We gotta think about these things. How does this affect us? Let's look deeper. Why is it saying Moses here? How come it's not saying Joshua? And before the leaders, the chief fathers, and before the leaders, then they tell us who the leaders are, the chief fathers of Israel's seed. And they said, Yehovah commanded, now this makes more sense. Yehovah commanded my Lord, they put Moses in parentheses, to give the land as an inheritance by lot to Israel's seed. And my Lord, Moses, was commanded by Yehovah to give the inheritance of our brother to Zelophehad's daughters. How come it says daughters? You can't divide the land to all the daughters. Only the eldest daughter is going to get it, just like the eldest son would get it. It says now this. Look what it says. This is English. No, before I do that, look at who's talking to whom. This is Gilead's seed. Ben Machir, Gilead's seed. Here's Gilead's seed. Ben Machir, Manasseh, of Joseph's seed. They put the sons of Joseph, came near. They are the ones who have the issue with what's going on right now because it's their land and it's about to be given away. Remember Gilead, the sons of Gilead. Who's the son of Gilead? Hefer. Who's the son of Hefer? Zelophehad. They see a problem. It says now. Now, if they are married to any of the sons of other tribes of Israel's seed, then their inheritance will be taken from the inheritance of our fathers, and it will be added to the inheritance of the tribe in which they marry. This word marry, if they are married, you know what it actually says? It says if they become women, if they become, really it's women is understood, if they become of any of the sons of other tribes. Maybe you could say if they are to become of any of the sons of other tribes. This is what we're talking about. It gets translated as married. And practically every translation says married. But think about this. This law has to be far more expendable for younger daughters. What if there are 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 instead of older daughters who are of marrying age? They need a covering. This is what it's all about. And for this one, Makla, she comes with a benefit. She comes with an asset attached to her name that's going to belong to her husband when he takes her for his woman, whether he's married to her or not, even if he's just going to be her covering. Her possession is going to become his possession. Do you see how that works? Women don't own land. This is the issue that we're talking about this very moment. Because if they marry somebody in another tribe, that man is going to get her possessions and it's going to become his possession. In fact, that's the next verse. Let me read on the right hand now, because it's got verses 3 and 4. Look what it says. Now, if they become women of any of the sons of other tribes of Israel's seed, then their inheritance will be taken from the inheritance of our fathers, and it will be added to the inheritance of the tribes in which they became women. You hear that? It's not going to be the women's inheritance. It's going to become the inheritance of the tribes in which they became women. So it will be taken from the lot of our inheritance. And when the Jubilee of Israel's seed comes, then their inheritance will be added to the inheritance of the tribe into which they became women. So their inheritance will be taken away from the inheritance of the tribes of our father. Do you see what's happening here? This tells us several things. They need a covering, but when they get a covering, the things that they own don't belong to them anymore. They belong to the new covering. Let's go on. Then Moses commanded Israel's seed according to the word of Yehovah, saying, what the tribe of Joseph's seed speaks is right. This is what Yehovah commands concerning Zelophehad's daughters, saying, let them, see this, it says, they said marry. They used the word wife, but that's wrong because they're going to become women of another man. Remember, if they're young, if they're babies, say they're infants. This infant woman, this infant girl is going to come with assets that her covering is going to take. So here we are. Verse 6. This is what Yehovah commands. I'm reading on the right concerning the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, they shall become for women. Look at, here it is. Haya, become. Nashim, women. They shall become for women of whom they think best, but only within the family of their father's tribe shall they become for women. You could just say for they shall become women. They shall become women. Failure to become the woman of the tribe will result in their loss of the land. The land would then default to what? To the next man in the succession. Who was that? That would be, if he has no daughter, then you shall give him his inheritance to his brothers. It's going to go to his brothers. I don't know that I have my thing on here yet, but we're going to see that here in just a second. Let's go to the next verse. So the inheritance of Israel's seed shall not change hands from tribe to tribe. It's going to stay in the tribe because there can only become the women. I'm not going to use that word marry. I'm not going to use that word wife. It's too restrictive. Let me say it that way. We need a broader word. And the word is woman. That way it works for any age. Woman. So the inheritance of Israel's seed shall not change hands from tribe to tribe. For every one of Israel's seed shall keep his inheritance and the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers. And every daughter who possesses an inheritance, let me have it on here. Every daughter who possesses an inheritance in any tribe of Israel's seed shall be, look at shall be the wife. They put wife. What is the word that they hear? Look, it's become the woman. Become the woman. That's what it says. Become the woman shall be the wife. That's what they put, wife. It's not right. Shall become the woman. There it is. Haya isha. Haya isha. Shall become the woman, to become the isha, or for a woman. This is necessary, not wife. And every daughter of the possession shall become a woman of one of the family of her father's tribe, so that Israel's seed each may possess the inheritance of his fathers. I put to keep their inheritance. The daughters of Zelophehad's daughters, were required to become the women of someone in their father's tribe, or they would lose their land. This is what it's all about. And this is totally in line with everything that Yehovah has previously said. That's why I say I'm surprised that Yehovah would even said what he said in verse 27, verse 8. Thus, no inheritance shall change hands from one tribe to another. But every tribe of Israel's seed shall keep its own inheritance. Just as Yehovah commanded Moses, so did the daughters of Zelophehad. Look what it says. For Maklah, Tirzah, Kagala, Milcah, Noah, the daughters of Zelophehad, were married, became the woman, here it is, became their father's brother's seed's woman. There it is. Became women. Became their father's brother's seed's women. Who's the father brother's seeds? Here, look. Here's the father. Oh, here's the father, Zelophehad. Here's the brothers, his brothers. He's going to have multiple brothers. And the daughters are going to join themselves, become the women of one of these brothers. No, one of these brothers' seed. That's what it said. Thy father's brother's seeds. Their father's brother's seed. Let me read it again for you, so you know what we're talking about. Oh, it's up here more. Here. Just as Yehovah commanded Moses, so did Zelophehad's daughters. So did Zelophehad's daughters become. So did Zelophehad's daughters become their father's brother's seed. That means the sons of their father's brothers. The sons of their father's brothers. Yes, their seed. Women. Ends with women. And they became their father's brother's seed's women. It's really what we're talking about. If the ladies had not become their father's brother's seed's women, the land would have defaulted to their father's brothers anyway. I think this is so interesting how this fits together. I don't want to go through this. A man dies, has no son. Because look, it would have been to the son of Zelophehad. It would have defaulted to the brother of their father. But Yehovah says that we want to keep it in the family, so they married sons who are probably closer to their age. No, they became the women of one of the sons of their father's brothers, so they could stay the same. So they would be the women of approximately the same age. Does that make sense to you? So it goes on. So it says they were married. The women with their inheritance became into Manasseh's seed. Let me just look at what that says. I guess I didn't translate that. The families of the sons of Manasseh ben Joseph remained tribe. They were married. Where does it say married? Where's remained? Nashim. Oh, Hayah. Nashim. Yeah, we've got the same words that became women. Became, here it says, the women with their inheritance. That's what we're talking about. Became into the family of Manasseh's seed. They were already in Manasseh's seed, so was the land. But now it's official because they are where they belong. And really, had it not gone to them, it would have gone to the same place anyway. But what this does is it covers the ladies. Look at this last verse, or one of the last verses. Let me go back. This one is where I want to go. I put 3 good things happened. The orphaned daughters of Zelophehad got a covering. The land came back into the hands of a man. It actually came back into the land of the very same family of Zelophehad. And the land stayed in the tribe. Yeah, this is a righteous judgment. What happened in 27, there are a lot of ladies out there who will try to use that to say that ladies can own land, and they completely ignore chapter 36. Well, I think you do it to your own peril. And because of misunderstandings, false images in our minds, that what a man can have, a woman can have, it's just not the same. Yehovah treats men and women differently. We've got to learn that. And I've tried to show you that from day one when we started Genesis 1, 2, and 3. These are the commandments and the judgments which Yehovah commanded Israel's seed by the hand of Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan across from Jericho. This is a great ending for a book we call the Torah. Now, we're going to go back to 28 next week and 29. We're going to talk about slaughters made on feast days. 30, we're going to talk about vows. And I forget what we're going to talk about on 31 through 35. But we'll get there. But we're going to skip from 35 and go right into Deuteronomy. I've got lots of things to say about Deuteronomy. Many challenges that we ignore. Having this idea, every word of Yehovah is true. There's no errors in the world, in the Torah. Well, geez, we just talked about them talking to Moses after Moses died. That's a problem. We've got to resolve these things. But in Deuteronomy, wait till you see the problems that we're going to see there. Well, that's not for another couple months, likely. Next week, as I say, we're going to do offerings for feast days. All right. Well, hey, thank you for joining me. I hope this is informative to you. If you like what I have to say, even if you don't like it, if you're learning some things that you've not understood in the past, please like my video. Give it the thumbs up or whatever, the heart. I don't know what it is on different platforms. I'm on 3 different platforms. But give it the affirmative. Share it with other people who may be thinking about these kinds of things. And consider joining me on a regular basis. All right, you guys, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time, okay? Well, there it goes. Stop recording. There it is.